I am the convener for the Students' Week convention. It's nice to have you guys here. And like I said, I think I said somewhere in the morning that you guys are early adopters of this platform because we have been able to, I think, where the world is going to really, or where Africa needs us to be positioned right now is that we need more doers than talkers. And I mean, and if you look around the social construct now, you realize that we seem to be in the age of some form of renaissance, some form of knowledge propagation. Everybody is either doing a podcast or has some form of something to say, right? But the gap, the differential is going to be those who are willing to get in the trench, those who are willing to do stuff and get on the road. And doing stuff is not fun. Sometimes it's ugly, sometimes it's stressful. Most times it is stressful because you most likely now have to create something out of ideation, and that in itself is something. So to have you guys here is some form of honor, and we're happy about that. So what's the Student Week project? Why does it matter? I'm still going to say that this is some form of like a preamble because, of course, we needed to break the ice, probably just introduce ourselves, and why we think that it was the right time for us to do something for the student community. Because again, when you look at the homogeneity of groups around town, it was almost like all professions were spoken for. So the doctors have their thing, the lawyers, the architects, But when it came to the largest demographic of people that, makes the African population as stronger as we say it is, you go for conferences, you go through data trends, and one of the first few things that jump at you is the fact that Africa is a growing population, having about 70% of its population within the age of 16 to 28. And that in itself is a powerhouse. But when you look at the downside of that, you realize that I won't say very little, you'll find out that the solutions that speak to the youth demographics are very fragmented. There are solutions, and these interventions towards the youth demographics, apart from the fact that they are fragmented, there are interventions that are almost kind of very, you're trying to, intervene in something that has gone bad. You see very minimal transformational interventions or interventions that are building things from scratch, right? And we thought that it was nice to, not just nice, it was time to speak for the youth demographic, which is the student community, the learning community, as the case may be, right? So we decided to start the Student Week convention. Now, it's a lot broader than what it is because you have the convention side of things, which really and truly is trying to speak to certain problems that we have identified. Like you have the disconnect between what is taught in our institutions and the social impact or the national development that is supposed to translate to. You see a lot of need for curricular reforms. A lot of our courses are obsolete, and these are the foundational what's the word I can use now? These are the foundational elements that are supposed to train the youth demographics for the society that we want. You see the brain drain problem. I think when we are all talking or when we get to share, we can talk about where we like to work. Most people these days want to go to where the grass is greener. They want to find opportunities abroad. And there's nothing wrong with finding opportunities abroad, but we're saying that the best of the lot should not be the ones that want to travel. Everybody just wants to find, their feet somewhere else. We're talking about problems around apathy for education. The problem between literacy and education is school scam. Today you hear things in mainstream that say school is scam. Is school scam? Well, some can differ, because right on this core or this webinar we have people who are vocational training graduates. So they went to vocational training. We have tertiary institution, university students right now, polytechnics, right? So is school scam? Are we in an era where what you study doesn't necessarily matter, is what you do? So all of these disconnects is what we're trying to bridge with the Student Week platform, right? But we think that the nice place to start is the convention, because again, when you see what the student community or the learning community are interested in, we get a lot of, we have a short attention span, we want to, this is the way we understand knowledge to be shared. This is the way we understand content. We don't believe in Nigeria because Nigeria has not worked for us, right? We see all of that disparities, and we see them as also problems. And we think that the nice place to start is to make sure that everybody can actually come together, first of all, for a convention. Before we now start to dovetail into conversations that can activate a certain type of thinking from these demographics, and then we now start to pursue action-led interventions to say, okay, if we're going to start to, address curricular reforms, what are the things that we want to do? If we're going to start to address institutional reforms, what are we going to start to do differently? If we're going to start to address, the deficit in educational funding, where in our budget we are still spending about 3 or 4%, as against the 30 to 40% UNESCO budget allocation that we should be spending on education. When you look at our schools, how do they look? Why is there so much apathy between university students? It's cultural apathy that polytechnic students don't match up to university students. And I mean, let's not even talk about technical college students, because they're almost nowhere to be found in the spectrum of getting things done. But really and truly, is that what is the case? I mean, I don't know. Personally, on our team, I think we've had most of our graphic designers in our agencies studied architectures or industrial design, but they didn't study graphics design, But what really pays their bills is the graphics design. They make tons of money from graphics designs and being a creative designer. But really and truly, what they went to school to study was architecture, right? And architecture does not even allow them to practice until you have a master's. We're not saying reduce the standards, but we're saying, is there a way? But if you really think about it, where they teach graphics design is polytechnics. So would those people have gone to polytechnics instead of universities and still earn the type of money that they earn? Those guys that are in polytechnics and are doing graphics design, are they earning as much as maybe people? And this is, I think we've had about three. The first person studied industrial design. I think we have 2 or 3 other guys. Architecture, and fantastic guys when it comes to creative designs, right? So all of this apathy between different cadres of institutions. At the time, I think that presently they're trying to convert one of the polytechnics in Lagos, the most renowned polytechnics in Lagos, to a university. And I think the policy has passed the 3rd reading. So what happens? Are we saying that there's no place for technical knowledge or technical know-how in our social development agenda? When you look at what China has been able to do with technical knowledge, so are we building new technical knowledge to replace the one that we want to transit into universities? Now, this is just talking about institutional reforms, and this is just one of the 6 pillars again that we have been able to draft the whole convention into. So we have the pillar that speaks to govern. We have the pillar that speaks to enterprise. We have this pillar that speaks to nation. We have this pillar that speaks to not just circular economy, but eco-intelligence. What about climate change? Do we have our own agenda for climate change? Or are we just feeding off the agenda of what was told us or was handed over to us? Of course, arts, expression, entertainment, research and development. So these are the 6 pillars of the Student Week, and every one of them speaks to specific issues that we think that the coming generation, the youth demographic, the learning community should be very aware of. I'm sure if you look at it, you will find your feet, whether it's civic education and leadership, how policies are made, the conversations around it. There's a lot of political apathy, there's a lot of political apathy with the youth demographics. They say they don't vote. So how do we get us to be interested? We can be interested if we debate policies. Very recently, JAMB reduced the cutoff mark to about 100, and how does that influence what we are doing as a nation? Are we reducing the standards? I mean, these are major policy issues that the learning communities themselves need to talk about. How do you think it affects you, right? And all of that can now sum up into what should be done, because whether we like it or not, maybe in the next couple of years, we will find ourselves either working in maybe one house of assembly or one house of rep, or maybe even running for an elected office ourselves. So if we are already sensitized towards, policy making, policy debates, we understand how these policies are drafted, what the thinking behind it is, we get involved, right? So we can't make this change until you get involved. And I think, and we strongly believe that the right place to start is education, right? If you don't reorientate and educate ourselves one way or the other, we will grow old, we will get there, and we would not have acquired the necessary knowledge that we're supposed to do. So generally, we have the framework of the ambition, which is to set the convention as the gateway. The convention now becomes the gateway where the learning community, whether you belong to a university or you're a university student at the undergraduate level, at a master's level, PhD level for research and development, you can come and showcase innovations, inventions. We want to incentivize education. We want a situation where you score a 5.0 GPA. You don't even have to score a 5.0 GPA. You what's the word now? You're a first class student, you're a 2-1 student, or you invented something, you conceptualized something. That is worth celebrating nationally. We want to be able to give you that platform at the convention, spotlight that person and say, hey, this person just designed a recyclable packaging to move eggs around, and we don't have to import styrofoams or lightweight plastics for eggs. That's going to save us a lot of foreign direct, or it's going to save us a lot of money abroad that we spend abroad. So we want to be able to spotlight issues like that, and the convention, the student convention, which is going to happen yearly, becomes that avenue where we draft in a lot of activities around the pillars that we have created. But what keeps it really going on is what we call the highway or the fellowship. So there's the Learning Man Fellowship, where we can draft in different types of talent. It doesn't now have to be, oh, you're a first class student. It could be, we can be a special program for welders, for underwater welders. Shell can say, we want to create a program for underwater welders. We want to train them, send them on a rig to do certain things. So these are the eligibility status for that. And that becomes the fellowship, which is the highway to now make sure that capacity is trained, and then they can take on projects that can create either profit or social impact. So an organization can say, okay, our CSR this year is that we're going to train 100 students for tailoring through this polytechnic or through this technical college, right? And we want every celebrity who's going to attend the AMVCA to work with them. It's the narrative. it's the power behind doing something that is great. And because you have been able to dovetail into a fellowship, if we get into a partnership with AMVCA, for example, through the fellowship and say, oh, we want you to partner with Jabba Tech, right? I didn't want to call names, but we want you to partner with the fashion design of this particular tech institute. And okay, maybe this year's AMVCA is too close. The one next year, if everybody doesn't sew with these guys, we want maybe all your nominees to at least consult them. If they cannot use the clothes, they can do something. Do you understand? Can you see the connection of how we can design programs and that those programs can either fit? We can say, oh, there's no Africa social media anywhere. Dangote can say, okay, I'm going to curate 100 developers and we want to solve this social media problem. Let us create a social media for Africa by Africans. If Meta switches off Instagram and Facebook as you know it, Africa is going to be dark. So I think that's the general overview and the architecture of the Student Week project. You guys are the student communities and the first ones that we are interacting with. And so we want to open up the conversation, at least from our level. Let's see what school has been like for us. I think it's safe to say the dates that we're having the convention now. We're looking at October 13th to 15th. It's a 3-day convention. It's supposed to be a week long, but this is the maiden edition. And it's nice for us to start as a week long. It's Harbour Point Island, and we're hoping to host between 6,000 to 10,000 students on every day. It's pan-Nigeria. Like we said, it's the convention. And then by participation of private sector, organizations, sponsors, we will definitely into the fellowship programs that have different programs with different eligibilities, draft people, work projects, then everybody we see again 26 student convention. Almost anything that's on that's worth showcasing on that platform will come up. Of course, there's going to be talents, entertainment, all of that. So yeah, producers can also come, sports talents here and there, because it's going to be a lot of activities, hackathon, talent shows, spoken words, and of course conversations that dovetail into actual solutions for the nation, right? So I'm not the one that is supposed to say everything today, but it's always nice to set the tone for what the convention is. But as learners right now, and I think that we represent different demographics. We all are in different, some of us are in universities, like I said, some of us went through vocational training. You don't have to mention the name of your school. So you can just say, hey, my name is so, and I university student, I'm in 300 level. This is where I would like to work when I graduate, or this is where I see myself working. And then how does your course of study, how do you think, and this is a question, so based on the synopsis that I have just shared on this, I'm going to ask a few questions. And I think the first question I want to ask is, from the explanation, do you think there is a need for a student convention where students get to be able to have an opportunity to express, their pain points, right? Or we be able to amplify the touch point of learners within the Nigerian ecosystem or the Nigerian national system? Do you think that there is a need for that kind of convention, or do you believe that students should just be in a dark mode, get into school, face their books, study hard, graduate, come and face the real world? Because there's always that kind of disconnect. You go into school, it's almost like you're in a dark mode. Then you come out and there's a shock. Like, okay, so these are these places, right? So do you think there's a need for that? And then maybe you can answer the other question of, so your course of study, where you would like to work, or where do you you can use it as marketing. So maybe they can just come and look for you and pitch you. And then how do you think that course of study is going to impact your life and your nation if you worked in your line of work? You didn't have to study maybe architecture and then go and work in a bank. If you were going to do what you were studying, is there a pathway you've seen for yourself, or there's something you would like to share, around your experience as learner. So that's the first question. And I think that the mics can go. You have the mic right in front of you. So you're the first person to go ahead, and then you can pass around if you have something to say, and then you can pass the mic to you.
Okay, so for the first question, where you asked if I think the student week convention is a nice idea, personally, I think it is a great one because it bridges between theory knowledge we learn in school and what you actually see in real life, like practical applications. So, like, the example you mentioned, where you're like, we go to school, face our books, study, graduate with a good CGPA, then you come out and it's like, I'm not seeing what they promised. It's not matching. So I think this convention will help people to at least find practical applications of what they're learning in school, be able to get work experience to, I know that, oh, even without like not everything being book, they still have like opportunities out there.
Okay.
Then, oh, I didn't introduce myself.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So, Adedamola Toye, a 300 level computer science student at a university.
At a university, okay.
So, for my course of study, or will I just say, okay, I'll just say my journey. From the beginning, when I was 100 level, it was just all book for me. I wasn't like thinking, like many of my classmates were doing tech things, being developers, but me, I was just like strictly school book. And that went on until like 200 level. It was at that point I was like, wait, I can't continue like this. Like, if I go out, like if I graduate, I can't just say, oh, I went to school, computer science, full stop, no projects, no skills. It's not going to work like that.
The dark mode was very apparent. So it looked like you were really in a dark mode because your head was in theoretical knowledge, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And now we see cases of people not even studying computer science and getting developer roles. So I was like, what will that make me different if I'm just in school and I come out and I don't have skills? So it was around that time I started taking my skills seriously, attending trainings, and yeah, I think from now to then, the dark mode has become like that.
It's become, and I think that's why you're in a session like this on a Saturday, where you can contribute your voice to something of social impact. I mean, these are things you can put on. And I think I was reading something somewhere. I think I was watching a video of Harvard intakes, and in the room were two categories of people who were legacy students. Legacy students are people who maybe their parents went to Harvard and all of that. And then people who had done some massive social work. So it was a consideration actually when you volunteer and you do some social work. And I think that, you said something that actually struck a chord. That meant that even as a computer science student in a renowned university in Nigeria, somebody who didn't have theoretical knowledge or academic certificate like you could get roles faster than you if they had technical skills of a developer that was relevant in today. So that will make your knowledge even in a university obsolete, right?
Yes.
So how do you think that gap can be bridged? I mean, if somebody who didn't go to school could get training and get ahead of you in the marketplace, where does that leave the knowledge that you're acquiring at this time?
So even when I said like people who didn't go to school still work as developers, as a computer science student, being in like those two different spaces at the same time, university and let's say tech communities, I'm seeing the correlation. Like the things that we learn in school, theoretical knowledge, at first it may seem useless, but when you're actually like working, it feels like there's some references or, oh, they taught us this thing in class. I remember this thing. But when it's just theory on its own as like isolated, it looks useless. So it just feels like theory alone doesn't work. It has to be matched with practical for it to stick better in your head. And I think that's what conventions like this do and all these communities is for, because it's like bridging that gap. That's what I said earlier, bridging the gap basically between the theory and the practical.
All right, before we move to somebody else, I really wanted to say something because I like to spotlight the fact that sometimes the good is already there. We're probably just not saying it. And I think that that's what CWES is for, your internship. So are we saying that these internships are not enough? Because the architecture of education has been designed, they expect you to go to, if you study a 5-year course, I think there are 2 times you go. You go at your 200 level, you go once. I went twice. I studied computer science too at Obafemi Awolowo University. Nobody can come and catch me now. I probably graduated 2008 or something. So I did the 1 in 200 level, which was like the one we did during the break. There's the one that we did during the whole of second semester 400 level, because my course was 5 years. So there's the one that is a semester long, and I think that is where they expect you to have some form of industry knowledge. But does that work in terms of, is it that they expect you to just go there and, because when I did my internship, I wouldn't say that, so that exists. They expect you, the design is there to say, okay, go get some industry experience. But does it work? Or is there something that you think that can be added to that architecture that can make it more relevant? Maybe that system is obsolete. Maybe in a minute, and then somebody
So
else.
I think like the 400 level second semester CY stuff is good enough, but nowadays, how do you get those internships? They'll ask you for some years of experience. You should have this and that on your CV, but like that's your first experience. So there are some universities, like my university, they have this internship program. It's just like this, just the second year is happening, where they take, regardless of your level, whether 200, whatever, and you're able to get, they will match you to like startups, and you're able to like get experience. Even like I've seen 100 level students getting those opportunities. I'm like, oh, they'll be able to have more experience before just jumping into the workforce in 400 level, and they are just lost.
Super. And I think I like that, because that's the solutions that we're talking about. So it's not as if these solutions are not there, they're just fragmented. And so at the student level convention like this, we can amplify those conversations and say, oh, these are internship programs you can get drafted into at 100 level, 200 level. You don't have to wait to your 400 level. So by the time you are getting to 400 level, and maybe your organization that wants to take you for 6 months are saying, we don't want baggage, we want somebody that has some level of skill. You've picked up something from 100 level and 200 level, and then by the time you're in 400 level, at least you have something meaningful to contribute to organizations like that. And that takes us to the fact that organized private sector has a huge role to play in the education of the learning demographics in Nigeria. Thank you for the contribution. I mean, any other person, so I think that's what we're going to do. Once you are done, just give it to whoever, and then the person takes it on.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I am Ubideojo Abba, and I am 300 science student. For your first question, as she said, absolutely, this convention would be very useful to bring together and bring students and the industry, or should we say academia and industry.
Yeah.
Let students understand the experience with like conversations that will go on, and then they can see what gaps they might need to fill to be able to get into the industry after. So yeah, absolutely, it's very important. And then on the other question,
before you answer that other question of your course of study and how it impacts your life and how it impacts I want you to narrow it on what role do you think that decision makers, I don't want to use the word government officials, but stakeholder community for decision maker, how do you think that they can participate in a convention like this to make the role of policy making? Policy is a very strong part of what we're trying to do, because policy just opens up the whole space, right? So what would you think that policymakers need to start paying attention to with conventions like this?
First of all, the students' voices, because for you to make policy, you have to understand the area you're trying to make policy.
The pain points, yeah.
So if they listen, and many people, when you speak to many people who have graduated, who have since graduated, long since graduated, they seem to just, this is kind of like how I can't really remember how primary school was, and I can't relate with the 2-year-old struggling to write letter A. It's like, yeah, I can see it, but just do like this. So in the same vein, people who have long since graduated usually just on some level cannot really relate to the way things are going, and so they need to listen, they need to just become part of these conversations, listen to what people are saying, see what people are complaining about, see what they are happy about, so you can see what to amplify, what to reduce, what to change with these policies. So yes, government officials or anybody who is related to policy making should should look to be a part of this kind of conversation.
Okay.
Because it will be very important in understanding what they're trying to even do. Then on the question of how computer science that I'm studying could be useful to the country, and let me even extend it to the other question of is school scam? I mean, it's a very interesting conversation, a very interesting topic, and something I'm also very passionate about, because I've written a number of pieces. I've spoken to a lot of people on this issue. So I would say it will depend on how many minutes I have to speak.
Right, yeah, you can keep it as brief as possible, so that everybody can.
Yes, of course. So first of all, I think generally that question is more of a purpose question than it is a system question.
Okay.
What do I mean by that? Computer science, for instance, it's a very, very, should I say, big target. And like she said, many people get software dev roles without actually studying computer science. And so it's like, why does computer science exist? Why am I even doing computer science? And you see many students, many of our classmates of mine who complain about this. They're like, why am I even here? And we are 3 years in and we've not done any React class. We've not done any Django class. These are the things you hear. And on some level, yes, because that's what the industry expects, or that's what they think the industry expects. But like I said, it's more of a purpose question
than a systems question.
What do you want to do?
Okay.
I'll give myself as an example. Before getting into university to study computer science, I was going to study medicine and surgery. And that was because I was inspired by Dr. Ben Carson. I had read all of his 3 popular books, and then I would be following him online and all of that. So he was a big inspiration for me at the time. And so I wanted to be like him. In fact, I adopted his exercises of standing almost throughout the day, because I wanted to be able to stand for 25 hours and do a surgery. So yeah, I was that committed. But I had to take a gap year after secondary school because my age was not up to 16. And
which is part of the policies that is now being reenacted, that you have to be a certain age before
you get into school.
So what does that do? I don't want you to forget your line of thought, but these are conversations that are real. So what does that do to really smart students? Do we force them into mass compliance? So somebody finishes at 15, he has to take a gap year because he's really smart and he can't get into a university because he's too young. But then what does he do?
I would argue that it is actually good.
Okay.
On some level.
I agree with you.
My own perspective again. Because, like I said, I wanted to do medicine and surgery. But staying at home gave me time to actually think.
Okay.
And then I started reading my cousin's microbiology textbooks. And I was enjoying it. I was reading it. I would spend hours on it. And then I would sleep on tomorrow morning. I can't remember Escherichia coli. And I can't remember all of those microorganisms and biochemistry. I've forgotten everything I read yesterday. And I was like, oh, wow, I'm beginning to notice it's like rote memorization is not my thing. I need something that I can practice, something I can get my hands dirty on very quickly.
Yeah.
That's how I learn. And then I began to look at secondary school. I saw I was generally better at physics and math than chemistry and biology. And I was like, why did I never notice this until now? So if I had not taken that gap year, I'll probably be like 300 level, 400 level medicine student who is just miserable.
Chasing a dream. There's a way I call it, because I felt like that all my years in IFE. I was like the right guy on the wrong bus. Because I don't think that there are dollars anywhere. I just think that we are misfits most of the time. So we will mirror a certain type of inspiration. So if you don't mirror, and what you said is very powerful, your story is powerful because you had a step back from that, from that pressure society, that I don't want to call it peer pressure now, but it's a societal pressure, because there is that, there's that societal agenda. And I mean, if we had time, we will go into it. What's the agenda that makes us choose the path that we've chosen? Because what we're talking about is, national development, because we have to develop the country. For us to develop the country, we must develop ourselves. But because others have to talk, and we have a whole convention to dovetail into all of this, fellowships to talk about this and to act towards those directions, I think we should just let hear the whole room, and then subsequently on other webinars but that was a very powerful one. Thank you for it. Thank you for sharing. Success. All right.
Okay, hi. Good
Hello.
afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Oluwapelumi,
Pelumi, hi.
and to answer your first question, I think that a convention like Student Week
So,
is very
sorry, you have to introduce yourself. Are you a university student? Are you technical college, artisan, economy?
okay. Nice.
It's gonna fall. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a mass communication student.
Okay.
Right? I'm in my final year,
Okay.
and I would like to work in the policy and development space afterward. Right?
Any particular, this one you can mention, any particular company would you like to, and if you don't have any, right, it's nice to say, because what that also does is that it lets organizations know that we need to do more work, because they need to inspire. So if I want to work in General Electric, I know that I want to work in General Electric because they inspire me. So, I mean, where would you like to work?
I do not have anywhere.
You don't. Why? Is it that it's never crossed your mind, or you don't see any organization in that space that, that excites you? I mean, there's a lot of them. EIE.
My current dream, right?
Yeah.
It's very recent. I just developed this interest like January this year.
Okay.
For like the past 4 or 5 years, I was doing something different in my life up until January this year. So I
Okay.
do not have any place in mind
Okay.
where I'd like to work yet.
Okay.
All right. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that did. I mean,
Okay. So I think that the problem with education in Nigeria is that we do not have one voice, right? We are not united. And what a convention like this will do for us is that it's bringing all major stakeholders, right? The students, the policymakers, people in the education board, like lecturers,
exactly.
across all sectors, right?
Yeah.
It's bringing all of us in one room, and then we can see what the problem is. What you said about policy making, right? The problem with policy making, like he said, is that we have policymakers who are making policies, but they do not know the people that they are making policies
They're
for.
disconnected from the pain
There is a
points.
disconnect, right?
Yeah.
And so you cannot make policies, you cannot make educational policies for a sector, right, that is not designed properly. The education system in Nigeria is not properly designed, and it has gone on for like decades. It's not a recent development, right? And so policymakers are there, sitting down, looking all cute and bringing up this today.
They can argue that if they are in the room, I'm sure they'll probably be like, nah, that's not what we do.
And so when policymakers come to a convention like this,
Yeah.
what they would do for students, right, for me and for others, is that they would have to communicate what they are doing.
thinking. So, I mean, I'm looking at the situation where we can get in a room with the thinkers of the JAMB. What did you guys see? I mean, I can argue for them to say, just by looking at the data, the literacy data, you will probably see that maybe one region was getting more educated than another region. And they said, see, if we continue like this, if we don't lower the guards, these regions will out-educate themselves. You just wake up one day and realize that these regions, nobody is getting into higher institutions. Before we can send educational intervention their way to change the narrative, a whole generation will be out of education. Let's lower the guards. They can make arguments for that. And really and truly, it sounds logical, right? Until you see the ripple effect of lowering standards or diluting standards, right? So, I mean, I really like your point, because you're saying, let's get them in the room and hear their thinking. Why did you lower the
this.
guard? Yeah.
I think it's now 180 or 160.
Is it 180? It's 150.
150.
It's 150
It's
now,
150.
and then there's
That is
100.
ridiculous,
Yeah.
by the way. So the policymakers need to come in the room with us. Okay, we did XYZ. This is why we did XYZ. Doesn't make sense to everybody involved. So that's my first, right? That's my first opinion.
Yeah.
We need to understand what they are doing. And in the same vein, they also need to understand what we, in the education, like we are the ones going to school, we are the ones doing XYZ. They also need to understand what we need before they are making policies for us. Yeah.
So that's your opinion on why the convention is so apt at this time. Thank you for sharing, Pelumi. Thank you.
Okay, MJ.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi.
I'm MJ.
Hello.
Also a computer science student, so I'm in 200 level.
Okay.
My second year.
I also study computer science. So this is a computer science hangout. All right.
So I feel like the convention, like why it is important, why it's a very good idea, is because, like they said, it bridges the gap between the policymakers, students,
all stakeholders,
lecturers, all
right?
the stakeholders.
Yeah.
Yes, and then it's also like an orientation
Yeah.
for us students.
Okay.
We get like work experience. We have an idea of what we're going to face after graduation. So yeah, it's a very great idea. Then the other question about how my course and work.
Yeah.
Oh, I would like to work for Google.
Oh, okay.
So yes, I'm putting it out there. And
Why though?
Well, I like them as a body. I like their entire aesthetic and what they stand for,
Okay.
and they have like developers. They already have programs set, like internships, developers programs
Okay.
sets already. So like I've been looking into them. I've been trying to apply for some,
Okay.
and I like what they do.
All right. I'm going to throw you a bit under the bus. It's not under the bus, but you know when you have these celebrity interviews and they tell you to tell your international celebrity and you say, hey, so tell us one Nigerian company you would like to work for, indigenous Nigerian company. Which tell us.
Additional Nigerian company that I would like to work for.
There's so many. I mean, almost all companies use tech now, so there's always a tech department. Even churches, you can work in the tech department for a church. So, what company would you say, based on Nigeria values or the values on how they run their system, is as close to Google as you would like that? Oh, I would like to work here. You don't have it's tech. I mean, almost everybody has. It could be a bank. It could be. Oh, I like the way these guys do stuff.
Sorry.
Things keep falling. Sorry.
In the banking sector, I would like to work for UB. I have ideas for UBA Bank because
Wow, you see, it's already coming out. You have ideas for UBA Bank. Okay, nice.
Just like
Do you bank with UBA?
yeah, I use their bank. I
Okay,
have issues like as a developer.
Yeah.
I have issues with their bank app. I feel like it does not work as smooth like compared to like GT Bank app. Okay, sorry.
Let's stop calling names at this point. But I really wanted to point out something, and this is how system level thinking starts. Because she's a first-hand user of a particular banking app, she's seen the pain points that she's experiencing, and she's like, wait a minute, I'm a computer science learner. I can solve this problem like this, and she's already internalizing it. Guess what? A platform like this she can collaborate with 3 other people, and they have a paper done by the end of the year, and they showcase it to the MD of UBA through the Student Week platform, and boom, they might actually be solving a problem, just like Steve Jobs did with iPhone. He never really wanted to go into the iPhone market until his engineers kept on pressuring him that this is the next big thing, you have to do it. And eventually he gave in, and today see the issue. I mean, fantastic. I like the fact that you already have an idea for UBA. That's so nice. So you would like to work for UBA?
Yes. Right.
Super. Maybe they can come for you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. So thank you. Nice on this side. Sorry.
Good afternoon. My name is Antonia, a 200 level, studying sociology.
Finally, thank you.
Okay, to answer your question about the whole idea of the student convention thing,
yeah.
I think it's important because it enables a connect between the students and the policymakers and the stakeholders.
What about the lecturers? Everybody keeps talking about the policymakers.
Lecturers
We need to get the lecturers in the room and talk about that, how we are treated. Is that the best methodology of learning? These things are real. Yesterday I saw something very disheartening in the room, in the news about a lecturer and a student having, they are consulting adults, but there should be policies that are very stringent about those kind of relationships, right? How are our lecturers treating us? Are we okay with it? What do the lecturers think about the students? Do they think we are lazy? Or do they think that, because their own fathers trekked because they trekked to school, we have it easy, so they have to be hard on us? There has to be conversations that can lead to change, that can break cycles that so it's not just policymakers in terms of government alone, but again, lecturers. Sorry to interrupt you.
I was going to add that lecturers, professors, and of course, vice chancellor. So yes, it's important because it enables a connect between the people I've just mentioned.
Yeah.
How my course would help me in the outside world. So here's the thing, I want to be a professor. I want to teach sociology and anthropology.
Okay.
I will also like to teach students the German language.
Okay.
And I hope to make researches for a living. I hope to learn for a living, work in school and be more practical with my course. So that's pretty much it.
So, I have a very I've been looking for someone that studies sociology. How do you see your course affecting national development?
Okay, so it's not something I've actually quite pondered on, but if I'm to talk about how sociology affects national development, there are different sectors that contribute to the development of a country. There is the economic sector, there is the
Political sector.
political sector. So now, if we're to, I'm not so particular about the whole economics thing, but I'm offering statistics as a course. So I will like to say that we should bring back the whole agrarian practice, because I mean that's where our strength is, and other countries are finding ways to, start widen their oil produce and everything. So that makes us less special. I know it was a big thing back in the days when we were like, oh, oil discovered in this place, but by this time I think we should go back to where our original
Strength.
yes. So yes, that's going to improve our economy, and it's going to help people with jobs. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like that because I've been also doing some thinking on my own about tech being trendy and this agenda that Africa keeps following trendy agendas. Agrarian economies, I mean, I don't want us to dovetail into all of that, but sociology as a course, national development, how many sociologists are mainstream today? Would you say there's a pathway for sociology graduates to actually use sociology as a means to change human behavior or to predict, the behavior of Africans on how we will evolve?
I don't want to sound
You don't want to say this.
okay. I don't want to sound harsh when I say this, but Nigerians, we are special people. We are very special people.
That makes the market very easy because that means that somebody can come and define that, oh, we are special like this, and this is the pathway for these special people. How many social experiments do you think sociologists have carried out to understand the African population? And is there that pathway for sociologists? Are you trying to say that? My question to you is very, very simple. Somebody studies sociology, gets into the course. Can he get out of that course having learned sociology and can develop a career in that particular course of study? And that career can, first of all, put food on his table and then create some form of social impact or national development, sociology.
Okay, so the aspect I'm quite sure about is the whole idea of social psychology. I think if a group of people came together, sat down, because in sociology you have to offer psychologists as a course. So if a bunch of people sat down together and said, you know what, this particular sector, this particular bunch of people, for instance, the students, we know how students reason, most students, because I'm a student, and especially in this tech period.
Fourth industrial revolution.
Yes, that's the word, that's the term. So if we came together and said, you know what, I can tell you what this set of students are going to do. I can tell you how they are going to cope, how they are going to take this, and they make decisions. I wouldn't say for them, because the whole idea of this convention is to make decisions with them.
Exactly.
So if we came together, and I wouldn't necessarily say we would seek their opinions, but if we came together and we can predict what's going to happen, things will be less hard. It will be less hard to maneuver this whole idea of school
and bottleneck.
Yes. So yes, that's how.
All right. I think that we're beginning to see some form of representation of, thank you very much, Emily, some form of representation in what we really want to do. So I think you can swing the last three people just so that we can maximize time. I think everybody has 3 minutes. Swing in whatever direction you want to, whatever you think is most paramount on your mind, and then we can close.
Yeah. Okay. I'm Emmanuel.
All right.
I study computer science.
Okay.
I study computer science,
Okay.
300 level.
Okay.
I think the convention is very important, and I think something similar
Yeah.
to this on a small level happens on Twitter right now.
Okay.
I know someone earlier talked about what's the word? Oh my God. Policy makers.
Yeah.
I don't think students should be the policy makers.
Okay.
I think the adults should be, or you can have students representatives,
Oh, yeah.
but I think the adults should be policy makers. The students and other adults that may not necessarily be close to the students can be policy influencers. And you see that in the recent JAMB exams that happened.
Yeah.
There was this guy that kept pushing, because there was a serious issue with the JAMB scores of many students.
Yeah.
He influenced the
The body itself.
Yes.
The jam body.
and they had to do a review.
Yeah.
And
It got respite. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
he's also doing something. Maybe I should leave that out for now. But there's this thing recently again that happened on Twitter where a popular musician asked for first class students to drop their results and all of that. And then you see, I think part of what this program will be solving again is there are issues on either sides. There's the government issue, there's the student issue. I think some of the students themselves were not exposed.
Erosion
This-
of values.
Yeah. This will lead to exposure.
Yeah.
For instance, there was one physics student in particular, I think 4.91, that's a very high CGPA.
Yeah.
He's a tailor. That's not a bad thing. But then in really developed countries, people like that are the ones that go on to do things like nuclear weapons.
You just nailed it. It should be drafted already. That kind of person should. It's not like there's anything wrong in being a tailor, but his mind is too developed to be needles and thread. It's not like the people that are doing needles and threads don't have developed minds, because I know that someone sort of have my head at their back, but but he's a physicist
Yes.
by default, so he should be in some form of nuclear program and all of that. And I think I agree with you, spot on.
So it just like you said, it's not that the brilliant those
In fashion industry are not brilliant,
but then
it's artisan economy for a reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's more of that. And in addition to the sociology question, I think sociology, there's no path for it for many courses right now. And that's because of the value they people give to those
I've attached
courses.
to
So
it.
it's like, I did not get this course, this is what I'm going for. Or this is what we're giving you because you did not get this course. And then the student that now many of the students that take those courses
Are not able to weave a path themselves.
exactly, because in advanced countries again, these people are the people that they go ahead to do research. You can find them in army places. You can find them in medical places and all of that. Like, they have their places in the industry. Then for there's one I wanted to add. The industry or the students themselves, I think they need the exposure. They need to be able to know. You cannot dream beyond what you don't know,
What
or
you're mirroring.
beyond what you know. Yeah. So they need to be able to. For many of the first class students I saw, I don't think many of them are that employed, and I know part of the reason is because of the experience they had or the schools they went to. Yeah. So if you know you can do this thing, I'm very, very sure you would work towards it and all of that. And then I want to say something about the company you mentioned, Google. I'll just say you should go for it. So last year I applied to Google. I passed all the interviews.
Wow.
I was not able to go though because of immigration issues and some other things. But so I just want to say it is possible. And then for companies that I would like to work with, have Google, Meta.
Okay.
Then Nigerian companies, Moneypoint.
Moneypoint.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Then a few others.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Right.
Okay, I'm Stephanie George.
Stephanie
I
George.
am a graduate from a fashion academy.
Finally, somebody that did not go to a university.
And I'm currently the lead fashion designer in a fashion company in Nigeria.
You're currently the lead fashion designer
Yes,
in
and
a
a free-
fashion company.
Yes,
Wow.
and a freelance fashion illustrator.
Okay.
So, on why this Student Week convention is important is
Yeah.
I personally think it's a great initiative.
Yeah.
Because not only does it bridge the gap, but it will also help to sensitize students into knowing that they need some sort of experience. Because our current reality in Nigeria is when you are fresh out of school and you apply for a job, even for an internship, they somehow expect you to have some sort of experience. It doesn't, they don't even need it to
Sorry,
be like,
I need to break your flow, but I need to. I hope you can find it back. So you're saying that you've not gone to an higher institution, and you're this.
I'm this confident about this, about what I'm saying because
No,
I
I'm
have.
trying to break stereotypes.
Yeah, I
but
get what you mean. But because, like I said, I'm lead fashion designer, so I've
Yeah.
had interns come that I've had to interview.
Wow.
And the expectation from the company is they should have experience. We don't want someone that we will train.
Yeah.
We want them to be able to do the work.
Yeah.
But they're fresh out of school. They don't have any experience. They need to learn to be able to do the work.
Yeah.
But you still need them to have some sort of experience. And that's why they're here, to get the experience. So I think this whole convention will help students currently in school or about to enter school to know that our reality in Nigeria is you need to have experience one way or the other. So even if it's not going to be hands-on, you need to be able to be aware that as you're going through school, you should learn things that apply to your field of study or your course of study, so that when the time actually comes and you are in that spot, it's not, because it tends to be very disappointing. And I see it happen on Twitter a lot of the time where people give up on their dreams or give up on school because their expectations of the outside world are not as it was painted to them to be. So we have, to us, well, not, I haven't gone to university, but I have a lot of friends that have gone to university. So to them, it's going to the university, and when you come out, a very nice job is waiting for you, but that's actually not the case most of the time. So it's very disheartening, but this whole initiative is going to help to, like they've all said, bridge that gap.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm also particular about, or that bothers me about the educational sector, is the lecturers. So you kept on mentioning that the lecturers should be part of the conversation, and I personally believe so, because I feel like Nigerian lecturers are a big issue in the grand scale of things, because I don't see why a student that has done the necessary work should be getting an extra year simply because the lecturer decided that nobody deserves a complete score, and they're getting a carryover on a course, or just because of personal issues or personal differences or personal grievances, you're letting a student that has actually done the work get an extra year.
Yeah.
That's very inconsiderate, and it's something that has been allowed to go on and on for years in Nigeria. It's at this point, it's like the natural thing, like it's
It
the normal thing.
truncates the meritorious system of order that you're supposed to, when you plant, you reap. So when you stay as a gatekeeper for something like that, you're truncating the necessary order of things, and it has a ripple effect socially on things too. And I think you're spot on that.
So I feel like they definitely have to be part of the conversation.
Oh, definitely.
And also the issue of Nigerian students having a better chance at getting a high CGPA in schools abroad.
Yeah.
It is common knowledge that if you're a Nigerian student, that you already have a good score, you're very good in school here. When you're there, you'll be excellent. You'll be better than the other students over there. But in Nigeria, it's a lot harder. Why? It still boils down to
adversity.
It still boils down to the lecturers and how they they personally I don't know. It's just a really big issue, and it's also discouraging for people who are planning on going into school. They have the experiences they've seen are people who have negative feedback from school. Oh, I went to school, I did the work, I read, I was really good, I did this, I did that, and then some lecturer somewhere comes out and decides that he doesn't like your face, or doesn't like the tribe you're from, or doesn't like your handwriting, and
just like that. But then you see somebody that didn't go to school that probably did some skits, and there's nothing wrong with doing content or anyway, though, or maybe was toxic on one reality show, and then the person gets
opportunities
300
left, right,
million,
center,
and then all of a sudden you are, you studied all of this, but you can't get, the necessary. Yeah, I get that.
And one more thing,
finally,
before I round up, is I personally believe that from the secondary school level, students need to be educated so that they do not make the mistake
Yeah.
of actually entering into school with an idea. Because I personally, like when he said he was going to study medicine and surgery, I said twin because that was my dream.
Do
Ben
you-
Kassim
you-
was my
You
motivation.
even look like that already. You still even look like Becca. You're dressing and all of that.
Ben Kassim was my motivation.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a surgeon, a cardiothoracic surgeon. I was very
Oh.
specific of what I wanted
Yeah.
to do. But I hate the sight of blood. And because it's a dream that I've had growing up, fueled by parents, fueled by family members,
Fueled by a narrative.
Exactly, that if you're a doctor or you're a surgeon, you'll be more recognized in Nigeria. I failed to actually look into what I
Yeah.
really wanted to do. And so I think I honestly say I am fortunate because the reason why I'm into fashion is because of my mom. She has always been a fashion designer. So it was very easy for me to see that I love doing this. And that was why it was easy for me to know that, okay, maybe medicine is not really my thing. But some people do not have that privilege or that opportunity. They would have already made the mistake. They're already in 311, like you said, they're miserable. They're not happy.
Right guy, wrong boss.
Exactly. And then they actually graduate and they end up doing a job that does not have anything to do with what they studied in school.
Yeah.
There are computer science graduates or computer engineering graduates in the place I work that work as pattern makers. They're good at it. But I would not say that they wasted years of school to do something that they did not end up using, because there's nothing that they learned in school that they're using in their current field of work, except probably the discipline that comes with being in school.
Oh, super.
Of course, that discipline will help you wherever you're going to work.
Yeah.
But it really did not have any particular role to play in their current field of work. And I think students need to be educated to know what opportunities are there in Nigeria, since that's where we are. What opportunities are there? Let them know. Let them be able to be sensitized enough to look inward, because I feel like it doesn't matter the age. The generation, our current generation, is very
Smart.
We're
Yeah.
very easy to, like, things that come easily to
And
us.
we're
is-
intuitive, yeah.
Exactly. So it will be very easy to sensitize children
Yeah.
and students
Yeah.
to let them not make the mistake.
Yeah.
Because like I said,
I-
our reality.
I think I totally agree with you. There was
Reality
something.
in Nigeria.
Yeah, we're rounding up, and I think that there's something that we can draw from all of this, that Africa needs to tell their stories more. So you have two people in a group of maybe about 10, are we up to 10, being inspired by one book or two books. Oh, so we need more Chimamandas. We need more of those. We don't need one African writer or one African success story. We need so many of them. So we need these writers so that we can inspire the coming generations in the right direction. And I think that is what all of these pillars and all of this is all about. So that even if the books are not yet written, let us have one time in the year where, and I think this has happened with the team trying to put this together. We've been trying to shortlist speakers, and somebody will say, "Oh, I don't know this person." I'm saying, "Go and read the story. Go and read that person's story." And then if you have just one time in a year where you can say, "Oh, this person, this is what they've done," then that becomes some form of inspiration that you can mirror. So you're not just mirroring something that is far off. You're mirroring something that probably a farmer that's been able to. We have so many social issues to tackle, and I don't think that we should all be stuck on trendy stuff like tech. We should go agrarian back, agriculture. Then food wants to go GMO now, but the farms are there. Nobody's there. So we'll just let Lola round up in a few minutes. Like if you can do this in 2 minutes, because we kind of.
Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. My name
Yeah.
is Lola. I studied fashion design and illustration in a fashion academy. And for the company I would like to work with, I don't have any in mind, to be very honest. I don't think I want to work with any company. To be fair, I have my own brand because I have a vision for it, and I would like to make an impact with that. I don't want to go deep into it because I don't really have much time. I just wanted to say that this convention is an avenue for people like us to be seen. Because to be very fair, I've experienced firsthand where people have told me that because I didn't go to university, I should not be having a conversation with them. And most of the time, after I've had a conversation, they'll be like, "Oh, what university did you go to?" I didn't go to university. I'll be like, "Oh, I'm really surprised you did not go to university and you're speaking this well." So people assume that because you did not go to university or polytechnic or whatever, you do not have anything to offer, which I don't think should be the case. So a convention like this would let people understand, will change the narrative that education does not always have to be formal. It might be as little as knowing how to put together a cloth, or how to be a carpenter, because we see a lot of artisans who are doing great in their field, a lot of actors, actresses that kind of like dropped out of university and they are doing pretty well. So this convention would spotlight people like us and kind of like everyone has said, bridge the gap. And so yeah, I'm just going to end with that because
thank you so much. I mean, I was already getting into the groove of it, but I think it's just the proof of concept for the convention. What we've done today is the fact that there's so much, and that is just a side of the story. I mean, when you start to look at out of school children, what does out of school children mean? Is it children who don't have access to literacy, or people who don't have access to some form of mentorship or apprenticeship? You're seeing that Nigeria has 20 million, by statistics, 20 million children out of school. What? Who? 60% are girls. Who's drawing up the metrics? What is really the metrics for that? Because there is the whole artisan economy, like she said. Are we going to just be doing that? People that didn't go to school, right? So we're saying all of that to say that there's so many sides to the problem. So we need this platform to sensitize, to pick up conversations, to spotlight, to activate channels of real work, real intervention, so that by the time we wake up in the future that we think is far off, right, we would have designed it. Not that we would be leaving some form of agenda that is put on us and we don't know. We contribute about Africa contributes about the lowest carbon emissions to global, but we are targeted with the climate change conversation so much, and there's so much money in it. What's eco-intelligence saying to us, right? Have we been able to draft our own agenda and our own path? And that's where all the sociologists and the researchers come into space. And I think I will close with the fact that there are about 7 target audience that we have identified. Students within, or learners within the ages of 13 to 16. We call them the next gen. Students themselves. Students now, qualify for people in universities, polytechnic, technical schools, and vocational training institutes. We have the research and development guys, those guys who are incubators for new thinking and innovations and inventions. We have the organized private sectors, because they are the only ones that can fund this type of vision on this dream, and they can benefit from it from the Learning Man Fellowship, because they can now design social or profit-making programs that they can draft people into. It can, make their bottom line better. So private sector would definitely invest, and they will definitely see returns from there. They're going to have access to student demographics. They can test their products. They can test new products and all of that. That's about the 4th one. Academia themselves. We want to make sure that we're hearing from the lecturers, the teachers. What is institutional reforms looking like to them? Why are we still going on strike? What about endowment fund? Why can't we fund our schools with endowment fund? Alumni associations are also a very strong part to making sure that these institutions are properly formed. And then lastly is the policymakers, the government and the policy. Those are about 7 target audience that the convention is hoping to target. And we're waiting and looking forward to have everybody in October 13 to 15, 2025 at Arbor Point. It's going to be 3 days of, serious talk and fun. So we have serious talk in the morning, and then we have marketplace in the evening, where we can do talent, music, dance, party. We know what we do as students, so we do our own student festival in the evening from about 4 to 7, and then we do the conversations in the morning. Thank you all for joining today. We hope that we can carry on the fire till October, and then subsequently till the younger generation comes and we hand over this to them. So thank you for your time. Thank you. Hope to meet with you guys again some other time. All right. Bye-bye.